John, you have a very colorful shirt.
Oh, yes, yes. Thank you.
I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's getting warmer here now, so.
Yes, yes. John?
Yes.
I have a question for you. When did that body identity, I mean, you are not the body, happened gradually, or it just like when Maharaj said you are not the body, just you got it?
Mantra, when he put his hand on my head, and that was, I mean, I very much understood that it was like God giving you the master key to escape from the illusion. And then as long as I had full trust and faith in the master, then that was it. It's like, okay, now you're going to repeat this mantra until the one that repeats it is no more. And that's, you know, it was just like if somebody gives you directions to somewhere, you follow those directions, you know. I mean, if you put in MapQuest, let's go from here to Ocean City, which is a little town here by the shore, and it tells you to go this way and that way and this way, and you're like, well, you know, I don't know, maybe I'll go this way instead of that way. Then you will not go to Ocean City. So Master said, this is direct. You know, he put his hand on my head and told me the mantra, and then he walked around. He told me to focus on Nisargadatta Maharaj's picture and just be with mantra. And then that was it. Like it was a, you know, then mantra took over. And that's how then there wasn't a you doing mantra. But it was full trust and faith. You know, this formless presence, you know, oh, this I am. No matter how it may appear that I'm something other than myself, I'm not. And I can't be, because anything that's other than myself can't be myself. And so you just know, you just discard. I am not body, I was not body, I'm not going to remain the body. Now, yes, it did help that I had subtly felt that sense of presence through, you know, through, I've already spoken about it, through a program of a 12-step program. I got to feel that presence for the first time. And then I knew that this presence, I was saying, this is my conception of a power greater than myself. And I worship that presence. And I wanted to go to Maharaj as that presence to thank him for this amazing journey. And when I went to India to do this, he just simply said, but you are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain body. So this sense of presence, this is yourself and myself. Because there is no yourself and myself, there is self, selfless self. That you are. And that was the, you know, I don't know. I've heard people say, well, you had to have had the grace to understand this or whatever. I don't know. I just know that, you know, in that 12-step program, you turn your will and your life over to the care of this power greater than yourself, which to me was manifesting as a sense of presence. And that was God. And therefore I was turning my will and my life over to that, which was quite actually easy for me to do because I'd really wrecked my life. You know, I had destroyed anything that even looked like a life. And now this second chance was there. So I started to, this presence is a power greater than myself. And that led then to the Facebook and then emailing. And just as I was doing all that, Selfless Self book was coming out. And I got one of the copies of that. And again, reading this book. This is the book from the master whom I wish to go see. And I read this book cover to cover Also, because I had wanted to go to see Maharaj, there was required reading at the time of Siddharameshwar Maharaj, Master of Self-Realization, and Nisargadatta Maharaj, I Am That. And as I started to read I Am That, that presence was also felt very strongly.
Oh.
And
Oh.
then I started reading Master of Self-Realization. I remember when I first opened it, I started reading it and I was like, I don't get this. Like, it was like, you know, talking about all the bodies and this and that and all this. But then I actually said, okay, Master, I know I'm supposed to read this book. Please give me the sight to see or to be able to read this book and have just a little bit of understanding that I can read the book, because I couldn't like get into it to like, I Am That was, I read because it was like conversational and all this. It was quite easy. And then that presence, those concepts began to impress. Oh, I am that, and that is all there is. And so the Siddharameshwar Maharaj, as I prayed about it, then I started reading it and I started getting in and reading more. And at the same time, I was reading Selfless Self every day, back and forth on the MARC train. And I read it like 4 or 5 times before I went to India. And I Skyped with Maharaj. And after I think like the second Skype session, he had mentioned, you know, when are you coming to India? I said, August. And there was no plan to come to India in August. It just spontaneously arose. I didn't have a passport. I hadn't asked for time off. I didn't have a ticket. But it all manifested itself very nicely. The passport even, I was sitting there listening to bhajans and I walked up to the house and there was just an intuitive knowing without knowing. I just reached into the mailbox and there's my passport. Wow. And it was as if presence was just going to the mailbox to pick up our passport. And then everything just, you know, when I first was going to India, Charles told me, he said, you might have to have a tent outside. Okay. But, and although, and I told a couple of people that, and they're like, oh my God, man, that sounds terrible. Like in India, in a tent outside, like what the hell? Like even, you know, and I was like, no. It's all good. I'm going there and this is my spiritual journey. Wherever I have to be, I'm going to be. And then sure enough, when I got there, and Maharaj gave me a room right next to the ashram. So good. It was, you know, it was just wonderful. And, you know, all of that I know is within the illusion leading up to the realization that all of that was in the illusion. Because you are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain body. Even the Kumbh Mala, when I was going over there, I was thinking, and I was told, Charles and Ann told me, this Kumbh Mala, this is very auspicious, because you're going to go take mantra when there's going to be 50,000 or however many, lot of people, saints and sadhus in Nashik, and it's only a 7-year occurrence or something like this. But when I got there, Maharaj says, no, that's not for you. You know, that's really like a body-based spirituality. We're not going to go and do Kumbh Mala and accumulate, you know, experiences. Instead, we're going to remain with our selfless self and just sit quietly, happily. And that was powerful. And whatever Maharaj asked, even when I got the food poisoning, he was the one who came to me. He said, listen, the doctor says you have to go to the hospital. I said, okay. Like, there was no like, oh, I don't want to go or anything like this. This is my master. I'm understanding this. And it's like, master becomes father and mother to you. And you're literally, because I was turning my will and my life over to the care of the presence, I knew that the presence was in the form of Maharaj. And that presence was saying, we're going to go to the hospital. Okay, master, whatever you wish. I'm going. And he gave me all my medicines and stuff too. It was very nice. It was, you know, and then the experience of non-experience, the food poisoning, having the food poisoning without experiencing having food poisoning. Wow. That was like, And mantra, as was mentioned, he put his hand on my head. I came there with my long beard because it was very much still body-based spirituality, me worshiping a power greater than myself, whom I understood as Maharaj, but still I had like the dashiki and the Rudraksh beads and the long hair and the beard and all of that, because it had become like a hyper spirituality. Like, you know, I want to surrender all of myself. Even my boss thought that I would come back from India with a staff and, you know, looking like Moses, basically. And when I came back, regularly looking, he was shocked. Because I had already told people I watched Muji on the and you know, they have their head shaved and all that. And I told people, you know, if Maharaj says to shave my head or whatever, I'm going to do this. And they're like, whoa, you know, I don't know, like, you know, you're in Congress, like, you're going to come back with your head shaved and all this. So, but I came back totally normally because there was no longer a need to pretend to be spiritual, try and appear spiritual.
Wow.
You know, spirit then was formless presence animating the body, and there was no longer a need to be spiritual.
Did he tell you that, John, or did you just know to get rid of the beard and the beads and all that?
Presence just did it.
Presence did it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because I wasn't any longer like, I was concentrating on mantra, and I went to the barber, and then they cut the beard and they cut the hair, and then I started walking around Nashik, and then, like I said, I had to have a rickshaw bring me back, because presence was just moving me around without a me there. And there couldn't be an objection to moving because there wasn't anything there that could object. Literally concentrating on mantra, and then just all of these things occurring. And I told you about the Rudraksh beads because I even went out and I bought like it was like 14 mukti or, you know, 7, all of these, and they were expensive as hell too.
Very expensive,
but,
yes.
I had this whole mala of all these, you know, it was like 5 and then the 14 at the end, and it's supposed to help you. And I truly believe that that's what was magnifying my sense of presence, because my sense of presence just kept growing and growing. And I thought, these Rudraksh beads are doing their job. And then after the mantra, removed the beads. And right afterwards, I got the food poisoning. And yet I went to, again, because every experience that's occurring is within the bubble of illusion, and Master is there to guide you as long as you're willing to listen and you have complete faith and trust. This experience will be a non-experience. And I told Maharaj, I said, you know, part of me is saying that these beads, I took them off and now I'm being punished. But at the same time, I know if I put them back on, I'm going to be committed to this body-based knowledge. I will never break free of these beads, will be this crutch. And he said, yes, yes. So, and I went through the food poisoning without having to experience it. I did not put back on the Rudraksh beads, and haven't to this day. They're just sitting in the, I have over here a picture of myself and Maharaj and a few different things, and the beads are actually sitting on this box.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, it's finished, and you know, and to be speaking about experiences, we can't get too wrapped up in body-based experiences, because it, like you were saying, how did you know to do this? There wasn't a knowing to do this, and it couldn't have been repeated. Like, had somebody said to me, hey, you know what would be good is to go get your beard shaved and go get this and all that, then there'd be a me making a decision to go and do something that could take an egoistic sense of a doer doing something, and doing something, quote, very spiritual. So remaining with mantra, no matter what the experience, remaining with mantra, and it was a non-experience. Even to the point, every morning I would wake up and it would be freezing cold water or scalding hot water. Nothing in between. And you had a bucket that you would put the water, and you could let it cool, but you can't really let it cool, because like then it's you're waiting like a long time, and you wake up early and this and that. So I just go out and I just start mantra. And before I knew it, I'm taking the shower, no matter whether it was hot or cold, taking the shower, doing my thing, mantra. So I did not experience the early morning cold with the shower. It wasn't experienced.
Mhm.
The vegetables, I don't like vegetables. And yet on the plane going over, I said, okay, Master, please let me eat these vegetables as if I've never tasted a vegetable before. Whatever's in front of me, let me have a fresh experience with this. And sure enough, when I got to India, we ate a lot of vegetables. And it was just something that I did because there wasn't any resistance. There wasn't anyone there that was trying to resist.
Yes.
It was whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Right.
And quite frankly, had it been like a torture, and Maharaj was like one of those gurus who was like, okay, I want you to stand in the corner on one leg for the entire day, I would have been like, yes, Master. And I would have tried to do it. So luckily it was a good experience because there was no resistance and Maharaj was a true master.
That's what the main thing. A lot of us end up with the wrong masters with same innocence, and they misuse you. You were really fortunate to meet the correct true master. You know, it is so nice. And you had the complete extreme surrender and devotion in you. That's the key, I think. You know.
Absolutely. You know, I wrote in the blog on the website that when I was in the airport, I said, Master, I'm coming there to surrender to you, to thank you, and whatever's left of me, let it remain with you at your feet. Like I'm finished. I just want to completely surrender to the Master. And then when there's the understanding that you and the Master are one and the same, the only concept difference is the idea that you're someone, you're in a body form, then you're free.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's the
Thank you.
experience of non-experience.
Yes.
Jai Guru.
Thank you.
And this is why Maharaj says too, visit your own ashram. That sense of presence that you feel when you're in meditation, this is the Master. Surrender completely to the Master. In the beginning, if there's a dualistic sense of me and the Master, then you just say, okay, Master, I surrender to you. Like everything. Take everything. You and I are one. And the more you remain with the sense of presence, the understanding comes that there's no you and I, there is just one. And you are that. No birth, no death. No, nothing. You can't even say eternal because it's outside of any kind of conceptually based, anything that we speak about, time, space, objects in space that create time is all illusion. You've never become anything. You cannot become anything because you're everything. And the everything that you are is illusion because there's only you, your own selfless self. And within the illusion, you can know yourself in a real sense.
Yes.
As Maharaj has said, the body is very, very important. This is once in a lifetime opportunity to know yourself in a real sense.
John, your son watches your videos.
Yes.
Thank God. It will influence him in such a way sooner or later,
Indeed.
So great. John, do you still get dreams?
I don't
Vaguely.
know. I mean,
Mm.
the you that you are, that you are, there's no, I mean, this
Mm.
is the dream. As
Yes.
far as a dream, and I identify it as an individual type dream, no matter where you are, in waking state or in sleep or
It's
deep
dream
sleep,
only.
it's scenes.
Yes.
There's not a continuity. It's just scenes. So you could say that there are scenes, like going to sleep at night, maybe there are scenes that are appearing and disappearing, but there's
Okay.
not a construct of any kind of continuation. In the same in the waking state, there's no continuation other than, like, okay, I go to work and I come home, and you could say that's a continuation, but it's not an experienced continuation, because they're
Okay.
just scenes appearing and disappearing, and then you're here, as if you're channel surfing. Basically, you're not and you can be fully just in a channel surf. You flip to the channel, you're fully involved in something for about 2-3 minutes, totally into it, but you have no problem flipping to the next channel, and that one's gone, and now this one's here, and now you're fully involved in this channel, and then flip that off, and that's gone, and fully involved. It's the same with the scenes as they're appearing and disappearing.
No taking the touch of.
Yeah, you're as Maharaj says, you're stationary and everything's moving around you. There's not a sense of it's scenes. There's just scenes appearing and disappearing. There's not a continuation of this. And yet, okay, lunchtime, time for lunch. Time to eat lunch. Then lunch is over. Okay, maybe have some tea. Have some tea. Then do the work. Okay, back to work. Oh, time to go home. Okay, time to go home. It's just a flow. There's a nice scene. Even if somebody asks you to do something, there's not a disturbance that you need to be like, oh, I need to become something to do something. It's just oh, this is okay. Let's see what this can do. Okay, done. Okay, finish. Like Maharaj says, literally, everything is pick it up, drink it, put it down. Because there's no good, no bad. There's no degrees. Because in order to have degrees, you have to have a local identification.
Yes.
And an experience centered around that local identification. When you're in the experience of your own self, and that's the only experience, you are that. And so there's no separation of experiences or a local identification that says, here I am and I'm having this experience. Like, I'm doing this. It's not like that. It's just scenes. Speaking, talking, moving, going grocery shopping, in traffic, at work, outside, enjoying the weather. It's just scenes. There's not and there's no grasping. There's no, like, trying to hold on to a moment or pushing a moment away. Because again, there's no local identification. There's just a flow. And this is how the reality is when you're not trying to create a local identification through identification with thoughts, that I'm the thinker of these thoughts and these thoughts are about me. You know, there's no me that any thought can be about. So you just are. Just I, just I. You are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain the body. Body's not your identity. How you were prior to beingness and how you'll be after leaving the body, this is your true state, your true self, your selfless self. Anything in between is the illusory experience that's occurring because the body form is available. But you don't have to identify with the body form in order to live in the illusory world. The illusory world, happenings are happening. But there's no happening because you know yourself in a real sense. But the body's available. I mean, we're not denying the body. Like Maharaj says, if you get sick, you go to a doctor. If you get very sick, you go to a hospital. You take care of the body. Provide food and water. Do your job, do your duties. Don't just sit like, oh, I'm a very spiritual man. I don't do, I'm a non-doer of all deeds. And I do nothing. But then you're wasting your precious experience of having a body form so you can discover your own self and be absolutely in the knowingness that you're a free bird. The concept of struggle, the concept of birth and death, which birth and death, these are the seemingly biggest things, the hooks on which all the other concepts can hang. If I truly believe I'm born, then I have to believe I'm a doer, because I'm identified with that is born as myself. This is not true. That which is not born is you. This unborn child, you want to take care of this unborn child for a while until you don't have to take care of this unborn child. It's not in your experience. And you don't have to be so concerned with this unborn child. The child is unborn. The world that it appears to be born in is absolutely illusion, and there's no need to identify that I am born. And when you know yourself in a real sense, this concept, I am born, it can't, where is it going to stick? Just like we said, if you're formless, you used to believe when I had a form that thoughts occurred inside this little lump here. But now you know yourself, oh, I'm formless. And yet there's thinking, there's a thought flow, which we now call world. Because there is no in here, there's no local identification. So this is the stream of consciousness, you could say. And you have a front row seat within the consciousness. You can't have a seat outside of consciousness because there's not, that's, consciousness is basically the illusion, the bubble of illusion in which all experiences are occurring. Everything you've ever known, everything you've ever done, every hope, dream, everything is within the bubble of illusion. Outside of the bubble of illusion, there's just your own self. And therefore, there can't be an experience because there's no concept of duality brought about by the illusory existence appearing as something other. You just are. The entire world is a projection of your spontaneous presence. You don't get caught up in the projections. You're the projector. And the screen on which the projections appear is not a flat screen. It's a multidimensional screen. Your dream body is not true, and the body that you believe you're dreaming from, creating the dream world in which you obtain a dream body, is also not true. It just popped up and said we have 4 minutes and 49 seconds left. And then it'll just be like, whoosh, and it's finished. And we'll all go about doing whatever whatever you're doing tonight, whatever is coming next, it's just a scene. This was a scene, this scene's finished, and then another scene, and another scene, and another scene.
Talk about subtle sense of presence. Is that how is that related to knowing yourself in a real sense?
Well, at first, you can identify this sense of presence as your own self. That gets rid of all the body-based experience, all the body-based knowledge, because you say, oh, this sense of presence, this I am. I am the sense of presence. The entire world is projected on this presence.
That's the subtle part. There's like I'll have experiences where I'll compare gross experiences to subtle experiences. And I probably that just feeds the comparisons of, and it's like keeps the chain going, I suppose.
Yeah, you just remain with yourself as self. The sense of presence, you identify this is myself. And then that will eliminate all of this trying to figure out anything. Because formless presence, there's no degrees of formlessness. It can't be. It's formless, like space. There's not degrees of space. So you say, okay, this I am. I am the sense of presence. And the more that you sort of concentrate on presence and you say the entire world is projected on presence, and I am not any of the projections, I'm the presence, then the more that you identify just as presence, there's a knowingness of, well, who's identifying with this sense of presence? And you remain.
And the presence is also, I guess, it's like nothing, right? It's like you can't.
It's the first illusory experience. Presence. I exist. The sense of existence.
What about I
am.
I also get a sense of nothing, like sometimes, and it's like it is like nothing.
Well, the presence, the nothing is appearing on presence until you remain with your selfless self, and then the nothing dissolves everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's the black hole that sucks in all concepts. You can't remain with your selfless self and think about how the experience of yourself is. There will not be anyone there who's going to do this. And if there is, you know that there's an identity on presence of someone trying to remain with their selfless self. When you're truly with your selfless self, black hole is the best explanation. There's like you won't.
It's not black, but just.
No, it's not black. It's not, there's no color. There's no quality. There's no attributes. There is.
Totally undefinable. Really.
And there's nothing.